A young man named Elias moved into an old apartment building on the edge of the city, a place where the neighbors whispered about strange noises and shadows that moved on their own. He laughed at their stories, thinking they were just old superstitions. But on the very first night, he heard faint tapping at his window that stopped as soon as he looked. The next night, the tapping came from inside the apartment, louder and more deliberate. He searched every room but found nothing and began noticing subtle changes. Furniture slightly moved, doors that were always closed, now slightly ajar, and shadows that seemed to linger longer than they should. One evening, while unpacking, Elias discovered an old journal hidden in the back of a closet. The pages were filled with frantic entries from the previous tenant, who described a feeling of being constantly watched and seeing shadows that mimicked his movements. At first, Elias laughed nervously, dismissing it as imagination. But the unease grew when he saw a shadow behind him in the mirror, smiling when he did not. He began recording everything with his camera, hoping to prove it was all in his head. But when he reviewed the footage, the shadow appeared in every reflection, moving even when he turned his back. The journal warned that the shadow grew stronger when acknowledged, and that trying to flee only made it follow faster. Night after night, the tapping, the whispers, and the moving shadows became more aggressive, making it impossible for him to sleep. One stormy night, Elias decided to confront it. He shouted at the shadow to leave, and for a moment it froze. Then it whispered his name in a voice that was exactly like his own, low and chilling. The shadow began moving toward him through the floor, like it was crawling from beneath the apartment itself. The lights flickered violently, plunging him into darkness, and every hallway he tried to escape through twisted impossibly back into his own apartment. The walls were suddenly covered in hundreds of small mirrors, each reflecting endless versions of himself with the shadow lurking behind them. Panic took over as he realized he could no longer distinguish reality from reflection. He tried smashing the mirrors, but each one repaired itself instantly, the shadow grinning wider every time. The last page of the journal read a warning. Acknowledging the shadow allows it to take your place in the world. As Elias approached the final mirror, the shadow lunged. The room went silent. The next morning, the neighbors noticed the apartment was eerily empty. The furniture untouched. No lights, no sound. Yet in every mirror hanging on the walls, a man could be seen screaming silently while a shadow smiled back, perfectly still, waiting for someone else to look, ready to step out and replace the next observer. Time passed, and anyone who dared move in would hear faint tapping at night and catch glimpses of a figure that was not quite human in the mirrors. But no one could explain the scream trapped behind the glass, or the shadow that always lingered just out of reach, watching, waiting.